This episode is sponsored by Bigger City. Thank you so much for supporting us and helping our show to grow.
Hello, and welcome back to the Big Fat Gay Podcast, where we like to talk about the things that are weighing on our minds.
Be serious, you guys.
As we lose our minds from the wild chuckling going on in the background as I'm doing the intro.
You are ruining Don's intro. Oh
my name is Don, he said loudly. And I live in big sunny Hollywood, and today I am the only uncaffeinated one in the room. There are espresso shots to the left of me, espresso shots to the right of me, and maniacal giggling across from me.
Yes,
so,
there is.
I will be your voice of reason for this episode, dear listener. Pray for me.
And I'll be your voice of raisins. No, we've just all had a lot of caffeine. And like that. Hi, my name is Dan Oliverio, author, public speaker, and chubby chaser, and caffeinated boy.
Yes, super hyper. We all, not only have we had the espresso, but we also all had Coke Zero with lunch.
Yeah.
So there's double caffeine
We
going
are
on.
cruising at an altitude.
They are all actually vibrating at different frequencies right in front of us. It's very weird.
It's harmonic.
I'm Trevor Keyson. I'm a super chub, and today I had a lot of espresso, and it's actually like that thing where I'm like a hummingbird, and my heart's beating so fast that it actually seems like I'm dead.
But he floats like a bee.
Yeah.
My name is Michael Wheeler. I'm a chubby chaser, and I'm seeing stars right now. So
we are actually going to try and finish the entire episode within 15 minutes today. 15
how
minutes.
fast can we talk? Everybody, go. Patreon, thank you so much. Big Fat.
We did Big Fat button, Michael.
Boom, boom.
Okay. Done. End of episode.
Okay,
New
everyone,
record.
Deep breath. Deep breath.
Yeah.
Focus. Okay. And now we are returning to normal.
Yes.
We're going to stop annoying you.
Since we're so
do I get to breathe
energized, thank you to all of our patrons of Patreon. We have lots of great stuff there. Check it out. Thank you as always. Big Fig, Bigger City. Everyone is
for supporting
receiving gratitude from us. And Michael, just hit that button. Just take us right on in. We're dancing really fast, and you can see how jittery we are.
Why does it sound so slow? I feel like it's half tempo right now.
Calm the fuck down, people.
Holy
shit. Ooh,
Relax. Come on, relax.
I think this is actually an appropriate main topic to start off with.
Yeah. Oh, can I read I want to read the opening
you guys
paragraph.
are flying.
I want to read the opening sentence. All right. So we have in food safety news. All right, this is the opening. As soon as I read this, I was like, this is the most Trevor thing I've read all week. Scottish Food Crime Unit secures a first conviction. The Scottish Food Crime and Incidents Unit, SCFCIU, has secured its first major conviction since the agency was created in 2015.
I had all sorts of happy fantasies about what this article would be about.
Yeah.
As the Scottish food police made their first arrest. I couldn't decide if it was like they'd been arresting people for making bad haggis, or if they were or people just making haggis
At all?
at all.
Someone made a vegan haggis.
Oh, that
and they
would
had
be-
to step
Somebody
in.
made a vegan Scotch egg.
Oh my God.
That'd be criminal.
Monstrous.
I don't know if this is a Law and Order spinoff or a CSI spinoff.
I think Law and Order.
And while
Yeah.
we're making lots of joke about this is a legit take.
Yeah,
they did some good work here.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there is a fellow, Jamie George. I don't know what that would sound like in a Scottish accent. I'm not going to attempt it. Who was, all right, Dan, you're going to have to help me with the name of this drug.
Oh, yeah.
He's 32 years old. He was the owner and operator of a gym, I believe.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
So, the substance is DNP, been known in bodybuilding circles for a very long time, and dieting circles way back to the 30s when it was banned in the United States. But it's because it's an industrial chemical and sometimes explosive. It can't be banned because we need it. Unfortunately, it is probably the most toxic diet pill ever invented.
and can be fatal.
And we'll get into that. So the abbreviation for it is DNP. It's actually dinitrophenol.
And this is not something that's sold as a diet pill anymore.
It used to be, though. No, in the 30s for a few years, and before the 30s, anyway.
100
For
years ago.
16 minutes before its first customer exploded.
And the problem is it's highly effective because it's highly toxic.
Uh-oh.
I mean, death is
I wanna
the
know.
ultimate weight loss program.
It is.
I don't know. Why is Trevor laughing so hard?
So it's the thing of, I'm sorry, listener, we're going through it today. Because I'm just so caffeinated, everything's faster in my brain. Imagining like if I took one of these pills and then just like the white flash and explosion of my body exploding from being superheated by this drug.
So maybe I should get into the pharmacology of this. So the way it works, the reason it's such a drastically effective and toxic little pill for dieting, or as bodybuilders say, cutting, dude, I'm cutting, which means starving yourself.
Oh, lovely.
Except they don't even call it starving themselves. They call it calorie deficit training.
Oh, God.
Which is starving. That's called starving.
Jesus.
Anyway, so what the drug does is it interferes with the adenosine cycle in the mitochondria. Basically, it keeps your cells from manufacturing the energy your body needs.
Oh.
So the other cells that remain unaffected, which is fewer now, right? Because the drug has, if you took enough of it, you would just die.
Oh,
so
fun.
the remaining cells have to work twice as hard trying to give your body energy. Well, what this also has an effect on heat, body heat. So it raises the body's internal temperature as the little mitochondria that are left work even harder, resulting in sometimes organ failure because you're cooking yourself.
You're
Or
literally
spontaneous human combustion.
Not quite
Yes.
that. Not quite that. So imagine this. Imagine shifting your car into a low gear. Imagine shifting your car into low gear so it's really inefficient at generating power, or I should say speed, and then driving at 40 miles an hour down a side street. Like, you're going to burn your engine out.
Yeah.
So that's how and you're also going to use a lot of gas, right?
Dan, that's how you race, okay? You have to keep your torque high in order to.
So, it's really super toxic, but a very fine explosive. I mean, and because, again, that's its industrial use.
So aside from this article, I shared this article for the outline. I read it. I was very excited. And Dan was explaining all of this to me. And then I saw apparently on Reddit, I can't remember the article, they are, aside from, Scotland cracking down on this case, there is a new study that is in human trials of basically using this drug for weight loss.
What?
Even though
God.
this has we already know that, like, you want to kill someone by cooking them alive? Give them a pill.
Well, it's the ultimate thing in diet culture where better dead than fat.
Yeah.
Because if you think about who's pursuing this, it's not that bodybuilders don't know this risk. It's that the risk just means it's really super effective.
Yeah.
Because
no pain, no gain.
Well,
Yeah.
there's that, but there's also this thing in bodybuilding where one of the reasons you know the drug works is because they're banning it. If it didn't work, they wouldn't bother to ban it. So yeah, it works.
On the
I
flip
mean,
side, like, it's kind of cool to say my weight loss pill can be used as a demolition.
Yeah.
I mean, so do we think that in
You'll blow up.
this case of this drug, the fact that it was a gym owner, that it was more for like he was dealing to bodybuilders as opposed to, the thin white ladies trying to be like, well, I just got to lose that last stubborn 5 pounds, or
It was being sold at his gym.
Oh yeah,
right?
no, he
And
was dealing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why they shut him down, and that's why the bigger fines. Because it's not like. And by the way, it is actually not illegal to possess. It's like a lot of prohibition laws. It's only illegal to sell.
I know nothing about this, but like I do keep hearing stories about like gym owners getting arrested for peddling pills.
Oh, yeah.
It always seems to be the owners. Like, why?
I think because because they have the most to lose. You can't go after the trainer in the corner.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I see.
Gotcha.
So it's the target.
It's the target. Yeah.
so I mean, could you theoretically be like, well, I'm selling these, this material in pill capsules, to dose it so people can demolish their dollhouses or something.
Little tiny C4 packets.
Yeah.
Little tiny C4 packets.
So just to put a pin in this, this particular chemical has been associated with at least 33 deaths in the United Kingdom since 2007. So definitely something that not only can be fatal, but actually is actively fatal. And so he was sentenced to, I think, 37
Wow.
months. Yeah, not years.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
I actually might put the Scottish Food Crime and Incidence Unit into my news aggregator just because I was so fascinated to see this, and I am curious to see more.
Well, and isn't that just the Scottish version of the FDA?
That's kind
But but it sounds so much cooler.
It does sound way cool.
Unit. Dong dong.
when I was explaining it,
crime.
I told Cody about this, and I was like, it's like kind of like, I guess, the FDA, but cooler.
Well, I think because it has more teeth.
Because they got to eat.
Because I gotta eat.
Okay.
So our next story brings back somebody that I didn't think I'd ever hear about again.
yeah.
Jessica Simpson is back on our
yeah. I
radar.
love this story.
This is from Scary Mommy.
She's sort of the anti-Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yeah, she
Yes.
does seem to be that way, doesn't
And
she?
I love the watch cry in this article. The pull quote is, "My kids don't even know what a calorie is."
Right. And then it's like, how crazy. But then you read the article and she's, so Jessica Simpson, for anybody who doesn't know, was a singer in the sort of
Singer,
actress,
model.
sort of in the Britney Spears era
Yeah.
of popular blonde young
Yeah.
things.
She looked like an adult Britney Spears. In a lot of
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, she obviously was the target of a huge amount of,
Body
criticism.
body scrutiny.
Yeah,
but
scrutiny is what I
also
meant.
really just kind of like painting her as a bimbo and this
Yeah.
like very like misogynist like
Yeah.
thing that we did just because that was like this is how part of the article goes into like Gen Z being shocked at how much she was scrutinized, and also like this. Like, it's just weird to think about, like, how normal all of these horrible things were at the time.
And also, one of the
aughts.
things that I wasn't really aware about of her is that apparently she must have gained a lot of weight after her period of fame. And she lost 100 pounds a couple years back.
She said she was addicted to alcohol, drank a lot, gained a lot of weight during that time, and then went sober. And as a result of going sober, lost over 100
So
pounds.
I wasn't aware about any of that. So I'm assuming during that time period, like a woman who is held up as a standard of beauty and then loses it gets crucified. So I'm assuming that
Yeah, you get
she had a
crucified on the
bad
way up,
time.
you get crucified on the way down, or
Yeah.
you get that pity like, isn't it great that she's finally doing something?
But her attitude, though, is amazing. So she
Yeah.
has kids, and she said, look, basically, I don't teach them about, counting calories or any of that other stuff. They literally don't know what a calorie is. I just live in a way that is being active and healthy so that they can observe somebody living in that way.
Yeah,
Like,
here the thing about like they don't know what a calorie is. That's not just mommy talk. That is, during the course of the interview, she tells the story about she had friends over, and one of them is saying like, "Oh, that's so bad. It has so many calories." And later, her like 6-year-old pulls her aside and says, "Mommy, what's a calorie?" And she was like, "Never mind. You mind. honey.
Yeah.
Nothing you need to worry about."
not to worry about.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what my take on food and my body would be if I had been raised that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything was so focused on pay attention to your food, pay attention to your food,
Absolutely.
pay attention to your body.
And whatever you do, it's wrong.
Yeah.
Whatever you
I
do.
could not win.
No.
I could not win.
No, that's the pernicious thing about it, is that no matter what you eat, no matter what you weigh, you're either wrong or about to be wrong. You're only one
Yeah.
mistake away from utter failure.
One, I think being able to go through that the way she did and so many other celebrities at the time and like come through that at the other end and be able to do that for your kids, but also like still be under scrutiny because part of the interview is like, she went through this weight loss after giving up alcohol. And then people are like, "Oh, are you on Ozempic?"
Oh, yeah,
because that is
asking
so
if-
prevalent in Hollywood right now.
Yeah.
And her just being like, I can't do anything right.
Yeah. And imagine, because there are so many, I think of a lot of our listeners have a lot of mothers who have undergone that kind of scrutiny, maybe not quite so publicly,
Yes.
but have undergone that scrutiny and just passed it on down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
even like my mom tried to not do that because she was under that scrutiny, but I think it just was so prevalent in her life and like her whatever body stuff where it just, there can be ways where you can be trying to do that and it still just seeps out.
Yeah.
Because you might not be trying to do it to your kids, but you're doing it to yourself. And it just kind of like,
And your kids are watching.
yeah.
I'm glad your mom had that level of awareness. I wonder if but my mom didn't. My mom was very enthusiastically happy to shovel on everything she got and then
Yeah.
pour onto me.
Oh,
So-
and a lot of parents, a lot of mothers,
Yeah.
a lot of fathers feel it's their duty. Like,
Yeah,
I would
'cause
be
they're-
remiss as a parent not to pass on
And
this.
I get it. Like from her perspective, she was trying to prevent me from becoming an adult that was having to deal with all the things she was having to deal with as an adult. I get it, but it sucks. You know?
Yeah, that's not hopeful. I like the story. So she talks about a story about her oldest daughter who's in high school, I believe, early, maybe middle. I think she's in high school, being taller than anyone else in her class. Like she sprouted first and fastest.
This is the daughter of Jessica Simpson.
of Jessica Simpson, right? And her daughter coming home one day and being like, "Should I be what's the term she used? Should I be not embarrassed, but like
Insecure.
Insecure.
Should I be insecure that I'm so tall?
Yeah. And she was like, if you have to ask, then the answer is no. No, absolutely not.
Which is a strange answer, but the
It
idea
is a
of like,
strange
if
answer.
you're like, should I be? Like, I have a choice. Should I be?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's a really wise answer because that's an answer you can apply to so many things in your life,
Yeah.
you know? And that's a great thing to instill in your kids, I think.
It reminds me of a seminar I did with some regular folks about raising kids and the whole fat stigma with kids. And this woman volunteered, and I'm showing this up as like the opposite of the great answer, where she's like, "Oh, honey, you're not fat, you're beautiful."
Oh,
Yeah.
Which is like the kiss of death.
Yeah, no, but-
which means you're not beautiful and you're definitely fat.
Yeah.
But you know what? That was considered a really good answer maybe 40 years ago. You know, with so many of these things, it's so hard to get angry at the older generation because they're trying their best with what they were given. But oof.
I don't know, for our Gen Z listeners or just people maybe who weren't as plugged in, there's a really great series in You're Wrong About, a couple of episodes about Jessica Simpson and everything she went through.
Is that a podcast?
Yes. I don't know how many episodes it is, but it's kind of, they were reading the book by Jessica Simpson. She wrote about her, like her autobiography. And it's just really interesting to like unpacking of that moment and what she went through, and also like the analysis of this is what was going on in the culture at the time.
yeah. It's a wild time when people, I mean, if you know anything about what happened to Britney Spears and recently her sort of finally getting out of that situation, like it is what that she was not the only one.
Yeah.
Like this happened to a lot of those young women.
Well, let's move on to Fat Watch.
All right.
Fat Watch 2023.
I'm flying past Scooty today. There's a shockwave and a boom, and I'm soaring past.
I do actually have all of my space theme sound effects on here. Hold on. Oops, sorry. Well, nope. I forgot that I can't play multiple sound effects from different banks.
Okay.
So we don't get the music anymore. The listener gets the music.
Well,
what do we
I
got?
don't know. I think this is appropriate in kind of the continuing the theme of,
this is
inspiring young minds, supporting kids.
This is a nice pick me up from
Yes.
from last episode.
In the New York Daily News, there was a feature on a plus size marathoner who is mentoring girls. And her name is
Latoya Shante Snell.
yes, which is an awesome name.
Yeah, that's fantastic. She is a fat woman who has run multiple 26 marathons, I think,
26.
which I can't. Like, I'm trying to wrap my head around that much running because, of course, you train for a marathon.
And then
too.
how do you get back if you're that far away?
Right, like you've gone so far.
I'm just tired imagining 26.
You just got that, didn't you?
Yes. I'm 10 steps ahead and 5 steps behind, all at once. Anyway, so it's an interview with her, written by Leonard Green, but also not just talking about how she takes on something like a marathon and dealing with, for instance, she tells a story about a guy literally while she was running the marathon from the sideline, like yelling. I don't even remember what he said. He said something like,
He said,
It's going to take your fat ass forever, huh?
and then she stopped and like it got her.
Yeah.
Like it
got her,
really
yeah.
got her. It distracted her. And so anyone who's done any kind
and
of
by the way, when you say he got her, she went over to the guy.
yeah, she confronted him.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
what I
and
mean.
But I like that she says, she did that, but then it cost her time.
Yeah.
I love that, just the idea of like, you don't let it get you because it will literally cost you time to like stop and break
Yeah.
that stride.
As a greater metaphor for one's life.
Yeah.
If you deal
Yeah.
with these people, it costs you the rest. It costs you something else.
Time and energy, and then you're in that moment with them, and you give them
Power.
credence. But yeah, exactly. So she uses this as an example because what the article is about is not just her, or not only her, but also teaching high school girls how to train for a marathon and accomplish the same things that she has.
Yeah. Mhm.
And part of it's the whole thing for her is not just, here's physically what you have to do, which is part of it, like literally training for a marathon, but also mentally, which anyone who's done any kind of sports or competitive physical activity knows that the mental game is more important than the physical game. Like you being able to tune out, for instance, as she says, tune out the haters, tune out the critique, even your internal voice trying to tell you that you can't do something is at the top. That's like lesson number 2, I think she says.
Yeah, I would. Well, and especially if you just think of like any human being, right? If you're pursuing something like a long-term project, whether it's like, you know, you're rehearsing a play for community theater, or you're training for a marathon, or you have some project that is taking time away from what other people consider the rest of your life. And that's one thing, like explaining that to people, saying, no, I can't because, and them having some opinion about that. But then you're a fat person talking about a physical activity that you are in pursuit of. And all the avalanche of little pebbles and big boulders that falls on you in that conversation.
Yeah. And I think there's also the extra context of being fat is a huge part of that, but also just telling somebody, hey, I'm going to swing for the fences here.
Yeah.
I'm going to try doing something that probably most of the people around me don't do and haven't attempted before. And I'm going to do a big thing. I'm going to run a marathon. I'm going to train. Like that inherently invites people to challenge you. It just, people frequently just, it's like the whole, like, you know, if they get famous and successful, you got to tear them down thing. It's like when you see somebody trying hard, oftentimes the sort of gut reaction is like, oh, well, how are you going to do all of the other things in your life? How are you going to...
Because it justifies them not doing it.
Right. And so that kind of...
Or them not liking it. Or
And then you add on being fat on top of it. The class she's teaching is not specifically for fat people.
No.
It's just she is a fat person teaching it for high school girls to be able to not only physically be able to accomplish this, but also mentally prepare them for the rest of life, really. Like having that kind of an attitude, attempting anything you might want to do is invaluable.
And the fact that she's a fat black woman, I think makes it so like, no, you can do this.
Yeah.
Well, and like, you know, she says she wanted to be the opportunity for people to see themselves that she didn't have when she was in high school.
Yeah. And that's such a vulnerable age to be.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of all the other stories we've talked about in the past where, like, you know, I had no role models, so I had to be the role model.
Right.
Well, I also feel like up till high school, I feel like a lot of us are sort of encouraged to be, you can do anything, right? And high school is around the age where you start getting the signal.
Yeah.
No, not that. Right? So having someone standing at that critical moment telling people yes, right? That means the world.
As a teenager going into high school, like, trying to decide what you do want to do. Like you're starting to make those decisions for yourself instead of just doing what you think you should or what your classmates are doing or what your parents tell you to do, you know, in elementary school, middle school. In high school, you're starting to develop your identity. You're saying, I want to do this. I want to stand for this.
So this is a woman who went out and did the thing that all of us need to try our best to do, which is to become the examples that we didn't get.
Yeah.
Well,
Be the role model you never had.
I think this is a great point to transition.
She overcame her inner voice.
Yeah. Our main topic, we're kind of going to be, Sharon and Karen and telling some stories about kind of overcoming others' perceptions of us or just kind of like our own
Perception.
Like
perceptions, self-doubt. Kind of like the little engine that could. Like,
When
I think
were
I can.
each of us the little engine that could?
A little face on a train, being like, I think I can. I think I can. I've leveled out, but I definitely could at the start of the episode when I was still riding that espresso sugar high.
The sugar is the real kick, and
Yes.
then we start getting into this part of the episode.
So the basics of it is like, at what time did you engage in something that you didn't think you were up to the task,
Or that other people didn't
or that
think.
other people didn't think you were up to the task for, and you achieved your goals or disproved their lack of goals for you?
Yeah. I got one of those.
Well, what is that one that you're thinking of, Dan?
So this was in the realm. See, I never really considered myself a fat activist. I just talked about chub chaser relationships. And then other people started saying, oh, you do all this fat activism. I'm like, oh, okay. So, and this is how I actually met up with the people who were running NAFA at the time. And that's the organization Trevor's talked about so often, the National Association for the Advancement of Fat Acceptance.
To advance fat acceptance.
To advance fat acceptance. So I was leading a seminar about chub chaser relationships at Bigger Vegas. And in the way it was set up at that time, the big room I was in also held the vendors hall. So there were people on the edges that had tables, and one of these tables was Darlene and Peggy.
Yes.
Who were basically the backbone of NAFA at that time, and arguably still. And so they heard like, oh, this guy's going to talk about fat chub chaser relationships, and he looks like that. And they had all these preconceived notions. They told me this later.
Okay.
The end of the story is they invited me to present at their national conference in
Oh,
Washington.
yay.
Yeah.
But at the beginning, they had this thing about you. Someone who looks like you isn't allowed to talk about this. Someone who looks like you couldn't they were just convinced, given what I looked like, that I was going to give them a great big speech about diet and exercise.
Oh,
and
boy.
how with a little bit of effort they could look like me. And you know me, that's exactly not
Yeah.
what I mean. Boy, am I not saying that.
Yeah.
And I give a lot of seminars on a lot of various topics, but it was an example of one of the things that I encounter a lot is that someone who looks like you shouldn't like that, shouldn't talk about that, shouldn't be good at that. And that watching them deal with, now that I know you are, what do I do about that? So that was really a nice turn. And believe me, as a very out chubby chaser, I get a lot of like, stop that.
Just stop.
Just stop it. Stop liking that. Stop talking about it. Stop.
Little pop with a newspaper.
I like that one. That's.
I mean, are we going in chair order?
Sure.
Are you going? I don't know. I guess mine is like a little more recent, and it's something I'm like still going through. So I've talked a little bit about. I was doing virtual Pilates through the pandemic, and earlier this year I started going back to the gym and doing weight training and stuff, and working with a trainer. And I have been getting better at that, but because I've been getting better, my trainer just kind of keeps pushing me.
Oh, getting better at these weight.
Yeah, like I'm
exercises.
improving, I'm getting stronger, but the difficulty keeps going up, and it is the thing where it's like it's fucking with me, where it's like I just feel like I'm not improving because it is at a constant level of difficulty.
Have you told your trainer this?
I did.
Okay.
And I had this like realization, which I had at some point before when I first started working out, of like, the ride never ends. Which this is a reference, I think I've talked about this before, the reference to like this meme of this online roller coaster tycoon thing where it's basically like an end, like it doesn't stop. And like, I was talking to my trainer about this, like, I can't win the gym.
Yeah.
And just like, I was really fighting that for a long time of like, I don't win. I just can't, and like, which if you're not winning is like, so I'm just constantly losing this battle.
Well, if your world is made up of only winning and losing. Yes.
Yeah.
And just really having to kind of like reassess and acknowledge, like, I am getting stronger. I am improving. I'm doing more, but it's just hard. And it's
There's a saying from Zen, which is the mountain has no top.
Yeah.
yeah, you never catch the dragon.
Have you had a sort of a eureka moment where you really did feel it?
I mean, I have felt it at several points, and there have been actually times where I'm doing an exercise where he hasn't changed it, and I'm like, I can do this now. This is kind of easy.
Nice.
And I don't want to say anything yet, so I can just enjoy this moment of like,
'Cause it'll make it hard.
This is easy.
And you should see Trevor in the gym, because obviously, I work out pretty regularly, and occasionally I look over at Trevor and it's like, holy shit. Because when you think about what you're like, if people understand like the biomechanics of that and your size and your weight, it's like, that is fucking impressive. And all these stupid little Twinkie trainers, or even not so Twinkie, where it's like, I'm doing squats with this much weight. It's like, yeah, that's my husband's body weight.
Yeah, that's just his every day.
That's him getting out of a chair.
Well, and one of my, my first trainer I had this thing where I was doing just kind of like, I don't know, sitting up, like getting up from a chair, kind of like squat things. And he was giving me these, sandbag weight things. And even when he didn't, he's like, well, like, that's just your body weight. I'm like, yes, because I weigh 0 pounds. This is nothing.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
air. All of this is air. This is,
Yeah, that we weigh
like,
the same, except that you use weights. Yeah, no.
And he finally kind of got it then. But like most of what I do with my trainer is just my body weight.
Almost
Because
all,
because he gets that, like, that is a lot, and getting like that, like, I don't really need to, put a dumbbell behind me to lift a lot of weight when I'm doing step ups or doing like kind of step back
and
squat
plus,
things.
at your weight, a 10-pound or a 20-pound dumbbell. What the fuck?
Yeah.
That's just gratuitous. That's just awkwardness.
I was so happy when my trainer would hand me $10 10-pound barbells because it was nothing. It was like, this is not an exercise. I'm fine. This is great.
But the idea of like you're going to lift your body weight and this 10-pound dumbbell,
Yeah,
like that's
like
just
fine.
That's
Okay,
silly.
that's just something to carry.
Oh
you
no,
know?
it's so hard. Why, you monster?
Well, and it's also all that simulates is Trevor taking in a very light grocery bag.
Yeah, very light.
To reference, last episode, just lifting my my tray of food.
Yeah, he does curls with his cafeteria tray.
All right. Well, I guess it's my turn. I was trying to figure out what I was going to talk about. But
I think you should, if you want to do what you were talking about before the episode.
So the last like year and a half, 2 years have been an odd kind of struggle. Because inverse from what our sort of setup question is of like, what was something that, you people doubted you for, but you overcame the doubt or your own self-doubt. And for me, it's been, I can do this. And then I can't do it actually. And just like a constant cycle of like, I've been editing professionally for a decade. I can do this. Wait, nope, carpal tunnel.
Yeah, your hand is shrivels up and turns black.
Or like I play soccer, I played soccer for like 17 years of my life. I can do this. Nope, sprained ankles every other day.
Welcome to your 30s.
Yeah, well, so I've discovered that I very recently got health insurance. Thank you very much to my employer. Very much appreciate it. Yay. That there is an underlying medical condition that I almost certainly have that is genetic that has side effects and symptoms that are exactly what I'm dealing with. So it's entirely, so I had this revelation like this week of like, oh my God. Yes, probably some, if not a lot of this is related to just getting older, but also probably a lot, if not most of this is like symptoms of a condition that I didn't know I had.
I mean, I have to say regards to that, and not like, because a lot of things we're talking about are physical symptoms. I have been in a place where I just can't get anything done.
Yeah.
And it is not even like physical ailments. It is just no matter what I try to do, I cannot accomplish things. And things are so much harder. Like just doing it, so getting my brother's birth certificate. My mom, just to make this real quick, because this is an exhausting 3-week process. My mom was trying to get a copy of my brother's birth certificate for him. And I just kept hitting all these walls and just trying to upload documents, trying to get stuff processed and that, but in every area of my life.
But if I may, I just want to make a distinction for the listeners that there's one kind of can't get anything done. Where you just feel like enervated, like, it's almost like procrastination or lethargy. And then there's the other one, which I think you're talking about, which is I am running a mile a minute and not going anywhere.
Yes. And I'm just, there's all these different areas where I'm just like, okay, I want to try to get this project done. And it's not even like motivation. It is just, I keep hitting walls and barriers and obstacles.
Things that aren't in your control.
Yeah, that was me a couple weeks ago. But mostly for the last little while, it's been that lethargy, brain fog, that's been today. And if listener, just keep in mind the previous episode to this one and this one, we recorded maybe an hour and a half apart. Yeah. The difference that caffeine makes.
Yeah.
For someone in my position.
It's my favorite drug.
It's quite helpful. Yeah. Anyway, so it was sort of a process of I know I can do this because I've done this a lot before. Nope. So hopefully this thing is very easy to treat. And hopefully within the next month or so, I'll be done.
Yeah.
Set to go.
Yeah.
I feel like mine is a little bit of a scratched record situation, so I'll be quick.
Oh, wait, I have a sound effect for that. There we go.
Ooh. I know a lot of the listeners on here are sick to death of me talking about kayaking, but one of the reasons why kayaking is a big deal to me
Goddamn
is
kayaking.
I mean, being a athlete or a jock or even someone that is physically active was just not part of my self-description, right? I've been told all my life, you are not athletic, right? In a billion different ways, often by myself, right?
Which, if I can just interject, really surprises me because you are so much more of an outdoorsman than I could ever even imagine being.
Well, that's because I grew up in the woods. I mean, that's not, to me, that's not outdoorsy. That's just normal.
I grew up in a theater.
So the first time I went kayaking, it was not just outside my comfort zone. It was borderline suicidal, right? I was thrown into a very large kayak in Malibu in the ocean.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
And just sort of shoved out there.
Hopefully not off the cliffs.
It was beneath the cliffs. It really was. But I mean, just to give you an idea of what that experience was like, I was maybe out 100 yards when someone finally told me, oh yeah, this is the southern tip of the Bloody Triangle. This is where the most great white shark attacks happen. Lots of them right under here. Oh look, there's nothing but seaweed beneath you right now.
And you're in a kayak.
I'm in a kayak, and to top it all off, the wind is so heavy that I am paddling like crazy to stand still.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, fun.
And like, I didn't understand, like, this is not fun. This is weird. I don't think I'm good at this. And then the wind stopped, right? And then the person who was getting me freaked out about sharks, she went off on her own for a little bit. And I'm by myself, and I'm like, this is kind of nice, right? And then it wasn't a great experience, but I was willing to give it a try again. And having done it once before, my preconceptions of anticipatory incompetence were now out of my system.
Okay.
Right? I no longer had the image of myself as being automatically incompetent because of who I am.
I think that hits so many people, that
Out
expectation
of my head. Yep.
Yeah, the expectation of downfall.
Yep. And the next time we rented a little kayak in Newbury, in what do you call it? The beach, Newport Beach.
Oh, yeah.
With that expectation gone, I found that in the kayak, I was as agile, as fast, and as able as everyone else that was doing it. And after half an hour, I was much better at it than any of them, right?
Yeah.
I loved it.
Excellent.
Right? And that's the thing that made me feel huge in that moment. And ever since then, I don't kayak a lot because I live in Hollywood and it's 2 hours to the beach.
And that's not including the hour to park.
Exactly. And, but if I had access, it's something I would do probably every day. I fucking love it and I miss it.
We still have to get you on the fan boat.
I'm going to get on a fan boat one day, damn it. One day it's going to happen.
Well, I think that's our last.
I'm just looking at you in horror because I have no idea. How to get out of
I
that.
don't know how to segue out of that.
Yeah.
To the regular episode listeners, we just had a massive cutting room floor segment that will get cut. I don't remember where we left off, so we're just gonna no segue at all. Done. Take us
Don,
into
you have
the
a
bit.
bit. Say it.
So I came up with this bit, and for the life of me, it made sense when I picked it. But now that we've done the episode, I'm like, I have no idea what the connection is anymore.
Before the caffeine.
Yes,
I
it
think-
was before the caffeine.
I think the little engine that could, right? Was the inspiration?
Yes, it was the little engine that could. That's right.
Oh.
So, okay, thank you, Trevor, for bringing me back to center.
Taking us home.
All right. So most of us had a favorite fairy tale or nursery rhyme like the
right.
little engine that could, or other children's story that really made an impression on us. What fairy tale made a big impression on you and why? So I had a weird one, and I feel like I am setting back the cause of all fat people years by admitting this.
Oh, goody.
I had a weird little fairy tale book of international fairy tales when I was a kid that didn't actually have international fairy tales. They just had American fairy tales that they stuck in other countries, right? So
Snow White and the Latvian Vork.
when I heard that Little Black Sambo was a racist story, I was shocked because it took place in India and there were no black people in my version. I had no idea how it was racist. But like the version of King Midas that I grew up with was a Chinese emperor that was so rich and for some reason when he touched people, anything he touched would turn into chocolate. Right?
Oh, this is sounding familiar.
It wasn't gold, it was
That is
chocolate.
so not Chinese.
It's not Chinese. It's not Midas. I don't know what the hell it was, but that story of him turning his daughter into chocolate.
Do you
was-
remember? I've read that.
You read
Do
that
remember what
version too?
was? Yeah, I've read that exact version. I don't know.
Maybe you had the same
why.
like international little fairy tale book when you were a kid.
Yeah. Strange.
Yeah, I remember it was that. It was a Greek version of.
And it was illustrated, right?
It was illustrated.
Yeah, I've read that.
It had a Greek fairy tale about them having like a city overrun with mice, so they get cats to chase the mice out. And they
Yeah.
get dogs.
I
but-
think we had the same
yeah.
book.
So there you go. But that fairy tale landed hard for me. And for me, the moral was not about chocolate. It was the be careful what you wish for. But
I just had a good one.
Michael, we have to go directly to you.
This
then.
doesn't always happen because trying to recall specific things like this is sort of a crapshoot for me. So the first one I thought of was The Boy Who Cried Wolf because
it's a good one.
For some reason, I don't know. There's a thing for me about being gaslighted,
Yep.
and I don't know, like he's tricking everyone, but then he actually has a problem. And there's something really horrifying about nobody helping him because I don't know.
I think he dies. He gets eaten by the wolf.
Yeah,
this explains so much of you.
But that's not the one. Okay, I mean, that stuck with me. That was my original thought. But then the second one I was thinking of was The Emperor's New Clothes, where not New Clothes. That's from The Emperor's New Groove. No. The Emperor's what's
The
the
Emperor's
fable
New
called?
Clothes.
Is it New
It's the correct
Clothes?
story. Yeah,
you're right.
New set of
You're right.
clothes. that
So
are invisible.
the fable, if you aren't familiar, is the emperor gets this fabulous new garment, which is nothing. It's and so he's parading through the streets.
But everyone is told that only brilliant people can see it.
Oh, is that the?
That's the twist.
yeah.
Or it's variously
yeah.
reported, but basically the idea is like that it's all hype. This is the ultimate. It's all about hype.
So what I'm remembering,
And he's literally naked.
He's literally naked. He's wearing nothing, and very proudly so. Has no shame because he's wearing this fabulous garment, but everyone can see he's naked.
Yeah.
and so
But no one will admit.
But they're all pretending they can see
and
it.
they won't say anything. But I think the reason this popped up in my head was if you're reading a children's book version of it, it's illustrated
with a fat king.
with a fat king.
Yes, I
And
remember this.
there
I
was
remember
like,
this.
poof, I was like, oh, I remember being fascinated with this fable in a book of fables, and I couldn't have told you why.
Because it's an important moral lesson.
yeah, sure.
It's about hype.
Let's go with that.
It's about deception.
Because we had a book of fables, and The Emperor's New Clothes was one of them. The Boy Who Cried
I wonder
Wolf.
how many of our baby chasers listening had like some storybook or cartoon or
don't get
comic
us
book
started.
that they had some strange connection to that they couldn't quite understand.
Yeah, that's the one I'm not telling.
Yeah.
Trevor.
I don't know. I have so many. I was thinking of because we had a Richard Scarry book that my mom hated and would refuse to read. And she would get mad when I would ask. She'd be like, I hate that. And you're trying to make
Oh my
me do it."
God.
We should describe the Richard Scarry books if people don't remember. These are the ones where it's just worlds populated by domestic animals. So like the pig is the butcher and the cat and the cat runs the bus lines
Yeah.
and the
Okay.
Oh,
very
sure.
cute.
Okay, I remember.
and
those
they're
books.
they're very merrily drawn.
Yeah. And the worm in the apple car and stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
But I guess also like I really loved the Stinky Cheese Man.
Oh, why do I know that?
I don't.
And there was the Stinky Cheese Man, and it was
Is it
also
the
like
is it the
other
title?
mixed up fairy tales
Is
and
this the
stuff.
title of the book? Or is
Yeah,
this a
well, it was
character?
like the Stinky Cheese Man and other mixed up fairy tales or something like that.
We had that same one.
And then, but there was that book, and then there was also the true story of the Three Little Pigs. That was like from the wolf's perspective, and it was like how it was the smear campaign against him. And I loved the illustrations in both of them because it was the same illustrator, and just like I liked that it was kind of like taking fairy tales and turning them upside down and stuff, and that's very me.
It is very you. Yeah.
I also I remember really liking the Rainbow Fish.
Rainbow Fish.
Is that a book? Is that a book or a
It
character?
was a book. What made it stick out in my mind was it had these little holographic foils because it was the Rainbow Fish, and he had all these like glitter
sounds kind of
things on him. And at the end, he gives away all of his scales so everyone has a rainbow patch. But I feel like reflecting upon that, like that's a terrible
That's a
lesson. Like
horrible-
to take what makes you special and just give it away to everyone. So then, because it's like, I get the whole thing of like, well, he was so self-centered
Giving.
and
It's like a
everything.
fishy version of the giving tree. Like
Kind of.
you got nothing left afterwards.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, it was about sharing, I guess, and like not being up on your high horse. But it's like really a terrible lesson. Like, be
Yeah,
like,
that's not good.
like give yourself away until there's just like one piece of you left.
Wow. Dan, what about you?
I dearly love this book. So as a kid, I had a lot of fun. Really, my mother had really great children's library for me. Maybe that's not surprising. And one of my favorite books. Trevor knows that I love Ferdinand the Bull,
Yeah.
and who he refused to be in the bullfights. He just smelled.
He just
daisies.
wanted to sit out in the meadow
And
under the tree.
I kind of understood that. I kind of identified with that. But the book I really loved because it had a lot of sort of adventure to it was The Fool of the World and His Flying Ship.
That sounds cool.
It is it's a Russian folktale retold by this incredible author. It was a Caldecott Award winner in 1969. And it's basically the story of the Tsar says that he will marry his daughter to anyone who would bring him a flying ship. And so this stupid fool in this tiny village says, I'm going to do that. And the villagers, because he is the village idiot, are like, thank God, go do that. Like our village can finally get rid of its idiot. And so he sets off and he has the utmost confidence and everybody treats him like an idiot.
The second dumbest person in that village thought that was a great idea.
Yes. So it's basically he bumbles his way on all these sort of serendip, like he's gonna, and he just tells, like, what are you doing here in our new village? Oh, I'm here to find a flying ship. I'm here to get a flying, and people of course treat him like an idiot. But guess what? He gets the job done because he just keeps sharing his problem, and people want to help him. I mean, obviously the people who don't think he's an idiot or crazy. But so basically he assembles this team of equally unlikely characters. Like he comes across this man who has one of his legs tied up. Like he just hops around on one leg. And so the fool says, and like in the book, he's just the fool. So the fool says, excuse me, grandfather, why do you have one of your legs tied up? And he says, oh, well, because if I put the other one down, I would run so fast that I'd never be able to stop.
Oh.
Well, guess what? That becomes a very useful superpower.
Did they make a movie out of this?
Not to my knowledge, but we have a lot of X-Men.
This sounds really familiar. A character that unties a leg and then just suddenly is like the Flash.
Exactly.
Was there the richest guy who his parents were killed in an alleyway and he falls into a cave full of bats?
Yeah. But he finances all his future endeavors with the pearls that...
Exactly. The fucking pearls.
The pearl necklace that breaks.
Anyway, so The Fool of His World and His Flying Ship. If you are looking for just a fun book to read as an adult, or you have nephews, nieces, children, whatever, I highly recommend it. It is enchanting. And it's just this wonderful serendipity of failing up. And you really are pulling for him because everyone has such low expectations of this kid. And I don't know, that just really, as the weird kid, because I was perpetually the weird kid, you wouldn't think. But it was just so like, yeah, there's room for weird.
And earnestness.
Yeah.
So what fairy tales fascinated you as a child, dear listener? Trevor, what can they tell us?
Well, we're on Instagram and Twitter as @BigFatGayPod. We're on Facebook as a Big Fat Gay Podcast. Leave us 5 stars there. Support us on Patreon, patreon.com/BigFatGayPod. See the articles we talked about at www.bigfatgaypod.com. Cha. Maybe you're you're feeling inspired. You're going to your bookshelf to read one of your favorite stories from when you were a kid, and you open it up, and there's something in the picture.
Oh.
And you're getting real close. And the thing in the picture is getting closer.
Look at that.
And it's Michael.
Watch out!